Well, yeah, listen, I think the obvious fight is you do the immediate rematch because for Alex Pereira, it's the best fight that he could have that he has an opportunity of winning stylistically. Like you say, everybody else in that mix that you've mentioned, their grappling is too good. They will be able to take somebody like Pereira down. The only thing I might say for a Whitaker that I think would be a struggle is the sheer size and power of Alex Pereira might present some problems, but I would still back Whitaker to find a way to do it. The fight that you do is Izzy. Now, the funny thing is, though, is that I think that's the worst fight for Adesanya. There's a route back to the title for Adesanya very easily, which is that you don't do an immediate rematch. You let a Whitaker, a Vittori, a Costa fight him instead. Maybe not Costa, I think Pereira would beat Costa. But you let a Vittori or Whitaker fight him, probably beat him, and then you fight a guy that you've already beaten twice, and then you probably beat him again, and then you reclaim your belt. So for Izzy, I think there's actually better options. Like for Izzy, I actually think he's got a lot of options here. I don't think he's going to be in a bad spot at all. I think he's still.
Well, I think he probably sees Alex as very beatable as well. So, Jesus Christ, Gastelum had moments where he had him rocked in their fight, but it wasn't to be. He can do better than that. I wouldn't say he had like an off night per se. Just think the ego got a little bit the better of him across the later stages of that fight. Easy to see that, kind of breaking it down. Obviously, very, very tough fight. When you're fighting at the highest levels, why we wouldn't a bit of confidence settlement? But I think there are different ways to go about it. Not just the ways we've suggested either, but my point is a lot of room to improve. I think he'll view that as a very winnable fight. I don't think he'd even be worried about having to sit back and wait for someone else to do his dirty work for him. I think he'd be more than happy to dispatch Alex Pereira himself. I got to believe that's the fight they make, right? That's got to be the biggest selling fight. Assuming they make Ngannou re-sign and they do either Jones Miocic or Jones Ngannou, that's still going to be top 3 biggest fights next year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Excuse me.
Well, I think it just benefits everyone to do. You get Pereira has an opportunity to be defending, to get a title defense against a fight that styles up well. Which means even if Pereira was to beat Izzy again, you can now market his fight against a Robert Whitaker as an even bigger fight than it would be otherwise, because you're marketing an already defended champion against a former champion. Even if Izzy was to lose a rematch, he would still be right in the title picture as soon as Alex Pereira lost. So there's there's actually very little risk for him. They've got to do the rematch. But also, man, it's like, 5 title defenses? Come on, if that doesn't buy you an immediate rematch in a fight that you were up on the cards on, I don't know what does. And it's exactly in the same way that Usman deserved a rematch with Leon Edwards, which is going to happen next year. You have to pay this respect to the former champs.
It's not a given when you are finished, though, and that's the thing. Right, we're kind of talking about it like, hey, just got caught, could have done it better. We feel he's the better fighter. Truth is, Alex did what Alex had to do to win that fight. He did it late, but he did it. Rookie beat Usman late. Still did it. Yeah, so, no disrespect to the new champ at all. I just think it's a very, very difficult time to be anyone other than Israel Adesanya at 185, and I think that immediate rematch is just too good to not make. I'd be very fucking excited to see that. That's right up there with me with Prohaska, Teixeira 2, Moreno
You
Figgy
get next.
4 and 5, and maybe 6 this year. We'll see how the year goes. Could be a good year for that division.
Dude, I can't remember which fighter it was, but I heard some fighter talking about Moreno versus Figueiredo 4 in a negative way. Just being like, can you believe this guy, man? What, they're just gonna keep giving title fights to this guy? What, these guys are just gonna fight each other
Which
10
one?
times
Which
for
one are
the
you going to
title?
complain about? Which one are you going to complain
I know,
about?
and he was saying it negatively, like, oh, it's not deserved, it's not good for the division. It's like, motherfucker, that's all we want. We want MFX, Moreno Figgy 10. Let's just keep doing it. I mean, it's not good for their health, but it's fucking good for my entertainment.
Yeah, man. Like I don't know how they do it, but just do like a one man, a tournament, one tournament night event, but they just fight each other like 3 times.
Well,
Ah,
it should
I'm
be like
pretty
no, do you
baked.
know what it should be. It should be like the Oxford boat race,
Yeah,
like its annual event.
like yeah, that's something everyone gets. How's it like the Oxford boat race? This better be worth it. How's it like the Oxford boat race?
And you do it once a year, and you do it in London, and everybody watches by the river. Except instead of it being two competing schools in a boat race, it's just Moreno versus Figueredo fighting in a cage for 25 minutes for like their own title. It's just like only one of them can ever win it, but whoever wins it gets to hold that title, and you just keep doing it forever. And then eventually they'll go old and retire. But then they can each submit a protege, or like their children can then step in when they're too old, and then their children start competing in the annual event.
Like the Ashes. That's
Like
not,
the Ashes.
that's
I mean,
not
really,
boat races or Ashes
annual
work.
event.
What you try to say is what you would like is a traditional annual event. I'd actually like it 2 to 3 times a year. I quite like that fight though. To be honest, twice a year could be quite a lot if it's going 5 rounds. The way those two boys go. Fuck
True.
it. Should we move on to the co-main?
Well, can we just talk about this just because we're talking about Rona versus Figgy 4? I've just realised this. The next 3 pay-per-views, the headliners are going to be Glover versus Teixeira 2, Moreno versus Figgy 4, and Volkanovski versus Makhachev. Those are 3 of the biggest fights you could possibly ask for as a fan, and we're getting them back-to-back pay-per-views.
Those are what?
Josh's side.
What are you gonna say are going to be your 3 biggest fights you're looking forward to across all organisations?
In the next 6 months.
I was going to say, well, that we have booked in 2023 so far.
Well, okay, so I can't count Yuri versus Glover because that's December.
Yes.
But the first 3 pay-per-views are the 3 fights that I'm most excited about. So January, Moreno versus Figgy 4. February, Makhachev versus Volkanovski. And March is almost certainly going to be UFC 285 in London, Usman versus Leon. And then it's looking like maybe April, maybe John Jones. Maybe versus Stipe or versus Francis. Either one would be pretty exciting. I mean, we could be talking about a famous run here.
Well,
just
I mean,
awesome fucking main event.
Main events are rarely what make or break a year. Well, that's nice when it goes to plan.
This is true.
I think more than anything, we have some good divisions at some good times, and crucially, there are a lot of exciting fights being booked that I am very excited for. Like, I'm not putting Rocky Usman 2 anywhere near my top 5 most excited. fight to 2023 so far. I don't know about
That's interesting.
Makhachev Volkanovski either, but you know what? It's very subjective. Okay, I derailed it. I was gonna segue onto the co-main. You wanted to talk about something. I derailed it. What did you want to talk about?
It's all right. We can talk. We can talk about the co-main. We can talk about the co-main. Let's move down. Well, I mean, what is there to talk about the co-main other than Carla Esparza had a better first round than I was expecting her to have?
Well, we did know that she had the ability to kind of sort of sit up, sprawl, and try and create top position from just about any semi-neutral situation on the mat. Other than that, though, what do you expect?
Yeah, I was saying. So I was watching it Sunday morning. My dad was kind of half watching as well. And basically, as soon as it went to the ground in the first round, I said, this is the whole fight. Because if Carla can't dominate in this grappling department, if she actually gets out-grappled here, there is no ability for her to win this fight. And to be fair, when she had top control in the first round, she actually looked pretty good. You could tell that any other position apart from top control, she was severely outmatched. And that second round, you just kind of felt like it was only a matter of time. And I'll say this, it was a very good sequence. All the submissions, I thought, on 281 on Saturday were pretty good. I thought that we saw some really high-level submissions, really good chokes, really good finishes. And Zhang Weili, she's just that different level. She's good everywhere. She's an athlete. She's extremely motivated.
It was
She's
pretty
learned
cool
a lot from her losses.
Crucifix, rear naked choke. I enjoyed that.
That was
pretty fun.
The crucifix is just one of those positions that once you're in, it's just a horror. It is so appropriately named, man. It is the slow but inevitable death of the fight result. But no, very dominant position. It's funny though. The only thought that came to my mind just before the fight started is I was like, oh yeah, hang on a second. Didn't Rose Namajunas beat Zhang the second time by just completely out-grappling her? And Carla Esparza was meant to be a better grappler than Rose. I did kind of suddenly think, like, is there going to be some obvious thing that I've missed? So Carla's just going to absolutely dominate her over 5 rounds and retain the belt. But listen, Zhang's going to be a good champion for China. She's back. And hey, we could be seeing a third Rose fight between her and Rose. Rose has got as good an argument as anybody to have a shot at the belt again.
Well, she's got to put in a good performance. That wasn't a immediate rematch kind of performance, so.
Yeah, but Rose doesn't have to do an immediate rematch. She doesn't have to fight Carla.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like it's not jump straight back into the title shot kind of performance for me. She needs to show a little more.
I get that. Maybe Rose versus Lemos as a contender fight to fight Zhang.
Debatable. I think who's Zhang gonna fight more interesting?
Who is that?
I think there's plenty of women looking to avoid kind of getting caught up in the kind of contender title picture. We'll be looking to kind of jump forward. So who we got booked at the moment coming up?
I mean, Lemos just beat Rodriguez. Mackenzie Dern doesn't have an opponent. Yan Xiaonan doesn't have an opponent.
Yan just fought not too long ago though, right?
She just fought Mackenzie Dern.
Right.
So Mackenzie Dern's. I can hear that. Rodriguez has just lost to Lemos. It's not an obvious contender on a win streak. That's why I kind of feel like Rose can get that shot. It depends on
True.
whether or not. But the thing is, as well, here's the problem: they might not want to, they might want Zhang Weili to get a title defense before she fights somebody that's already beaten her twice in title fights, because they like the idea of being able to market Zhang Weili. So maybe they look at like a Lem. I'll tell you what, I could see them doing Lemos. Up and coming contender, exciting, only lost to Andrade so far in the UFC. Power. I think she's 34 or 35, so she hasn't got time to waste.
I could go for
That
that.
could be an interesting fight. But no, listen, for Carla Esparza, it's hard luck, man. 2 times champion, 2 times unsuccessfully, unable to successfully defend the belt. But in many ways, I think you've got to remember she's probably accomplished a lot more than her physical and athletic abilities would have expected people to propel her. She has outperformed what she was given. And I think that deserves credit. But it's just that when she comes down to the absolute elite of the elite, I think she's just not got enough.
Yeah, probably would have been a very viable atom weight champion if the UFC had ever gone that low. Inaugural strawweight champ for a reason. And then Ioana came in, and then somehow against all the odds managed to fight her way back in. That will look fantastic in the history books. For those of us that remember it more clearly, just a strange time to be alive. It happened though. Definitely happened.
Yeah. Talking about Joanna, she, of all the fighters that have retired recently, she is definitely having the most fun since retirement. She's been at every fucking pay-per-view event for like 3 months straight.
More importantly, did you see Ngannou was there?
I did see Ngannou was there, and I've also heard his contract negotiations aren't going well.
Well, I'm glad that there is some kind of news on contract negotiations, because that's a lot better than where I thought they were. I assume dead in the water. Yeah. I will take all but dead in the water at this point.
What might be dead in the water is Stipe's contract negotiations. I think Stipe's getting to that point where he's like, come on, what the fuck's going on? Pay me my money. I'm 40 years old. I can't do this forever.
They got 3 of them. Likely they've only got to pay 2 of them once.
Yeah, I know. Just do the fucking fight.
Yeah, and frankly, just fucking pay all 3 of them, because I don't know how many more you're gonna get out of all 3 of them. I think if you're lucky,
Josh, you're a fucking genius.
You get maybe 4 or 5
you're a fucking
fights.
Genius.
Why? Well, I know I am, but go on.
Pay all 3 of them. All 3 of them to fight each other at the same time. 3 in 1.
But you might get a fight
Last
out
man
of that. Someone, 2 of them might actually make that one. But they haven't got a lot of fights left in them. They sell. They will, really help build the glamour in a division that looks destined to be taken over by the likes of Curtis Blades, Tom Aspinall, Sergey Spivak fighting this weekend. Derek Lewis still technically in the mix. I'm not deliberately leaving off Dorcas. I'm forgetting someone though. Who am I forgetting?
Cyril Gahn, Taito Avasa. Lots of great up and coming fighters at heavyweight.
The big boy that trimmed down Romanov.
growing up.
got humbled, but still, this division
Still a talent.
is getting a
Still a
little
prospect.
getting a little fun, getting a little deep. All right, what we need is a little bit of glamour on the way out. Paying these fighters does not mean that you are going to be paying all of the next generation coming up the same amount of money. It just means that you're going to have 5 or 6 hungry young fighters going, look at how much money I can make if I work and I work and I work. Which isn't the end of the world. It's actually how it's sort of supposed to work for the most part. Like, they're cheaping up and it's wrong at this point. Just flat out, it's fucking wrong. Pay them. Pay all 3 of them.
Well, on that note, as we've diversed off 381 and spent far longer talking about a co-main event that was not worth meriting this level of discussion, let's talk about the best fight on the card. It's going to be the best fight on the card. I kind of was pretty confident Dustin was going to win, but I wasn't 100% confident. I didn't expect the fight to maybe be as good as it was. I was kind of the one saying I think it's going to be a lot more one-sided than people think. I was wrong, but in the end, Dustin gets it done. Fucking round one of the best rounds of the year. No question about it. I mean, both
Strong
guys
finish
dropped,
from
both
DP
guys hurt.
though.
I loved him getting in his face afterwards as well. I mean, Dustin in that mode that he's got in him, where it's just like, I'm leaving a piece of myself in here. I'll die in here. I'm showing you, I will outman you. Dustin's in that kind of mode, man. He is unfucking beatable. Even after the second round, when Michael Chandler took him down and was controlling him and fish hooking his fucking mouth and nose, I still had absolutely no doubt that Dustin was going to pull it out, because you have to back Dustin in a war.
You know, the
Every
fish
time.
hook is a black hook, black belt technique. Very, very intelligent way to get under the chin there. Jesus Christ. The Chan man. I was very impressed with the way Chandler came back second round. This has been one of the better fights of the year. What a great performance from both guys. Really felt like justice was done though when DP came in for the win.
Yeah, and it was a very good finish as well. Like, that he has got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's been a long fucking time since we've really seen him use it. And okay, I think Chandler got a little tired in the third round. I think he made a couple of critical errors when he went for that takedown and that slam. But Dustin took advantage, and you could see the difference between, when Chandler had his back, wasn't really able to capitalize. When Dustin had his back, hooks were in, choke was in fast,
Yeah,
and
the slam attempt, arrogant, but Dustin said it himself that the way he quickly threaded in that body triangle was ridiculous, and that really made a difference. That really allowed him to go to work. That's what got it done. But yeah, Chandler just,
and
I don't know what he was thinking at that point. You know, the fact that he still had power to burn like that, and he's making those kind of decisions round 3.
yeah, it's a weird one. He's got this. I don't think this was as bad as when he fought Gaethje. Gaethje was an example where it was just he had zero interest in. He almost wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to prove some kind of machismo to himself. And I don't think it was as bad here, but I still think it's something that massively affects his decision making in a lot of high profile fights. Like you say, you see him wrestle so efficiently and be so dominant in the second round, and you kind of think, like, dude, how is that not round one's game plan? You know what I mean? How is that not sort of how you're starting the fight?
Because the takedowns don't come cheap till he's kind of earned their respect and the power. Setting up
Well, that's a
that
good
kind
point.
of like cheap single leg overhand right comes. You know, same, more or less same kind of combo that knocks out Dan Hooker. I can't remember if it was the left hand now, to be honest, but you know that you know what you're getting against Michael Chandler, and it's not that you can't game plan for it. It's just that when logistically, in the moment, you have to deal with the power element. You knew he was fast, you knew he was strong, you knew you're gonna have to think quick, you knew you didn't have room for error. But when it actually fucking hits you and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, that made me think about it. That's something I can't afford to do again. I imagine that kind of tenses guys up, and I think that's why you see so much of it from Chandler. He just has a lot of success with it. And to be honest, when it doesn't pan out, he does get tired. He drags guys into wars. He doesn't always do so bad in the wars. He doesn't always win the wars, but he has some very close fights.
Well, I think he's exciting enough that he's still obviously going to be a huge draw. I don't know if this kind of kills him as a title contender or being in the title picture, but again, you know, a couple of wins and you never know. You know who's called out Chandler, though? Eddie Alvarez.
I wouldn't be against that.
I wouldn't be against that. In the UFC, bring Eddie back to the UFC, let them have their third fight. I think that would be cool. I could get behind that. For Dustin Poirier, though, this is a massive win. It keeps him firmly right at the top of the title picture. He's talking about Dariush, saying that's a fight that makes a lot of sense. I could see a world where that's not even necessary. You know, we're at the end of November. Obviously, Makhachev is going to fight Volkanovski, but here's the cool thing. That fight's happening in February. You've only got to sit out 2.5 months. You know, or just about 3 months. And then you could automatically be the next number one contender, fighting a champion you haven't fought yet, who's going to want a title defense against a big name that's a big draw, that he's probably also going to view as a winnable fight.
So you're thinking
Now, I don't think that's necessary.
skip over Benny D?
I'm not thinking skip over Benny D. I just don't think either of these two fucking awesome getting older guys need to cancel each other out. If Makhachev really wants to fight all the time and does what I think he's going to do and beat Volkanovski...
If they sit and someone else takes the fight, then they've cancelled each other out for nothing. If they sit and one of them gets the fight, then one of them has effectively cancelled the other out for nothing. They might as well fight.
I get your logic.
Because
you can't see a world where they can't just
alright,
sit in the queue.
If you have that fight, winner of that fight takes the winner of Volkanovski Makhachev, barring a draw or some ridiculously close contest, which even then, like, there's reasons for Volkanovski to drop down to 45, so we could be patient, you know. In what world does the winner of that fight not get the next shot? Who do you put ahead of him? And there are guys coming up, fights that can't be ignored. So,
True.
Do you really want to get burnt resting on your laurels?
And I'll tell you this, if I was Dustin, looking at all of the up-and-comers behind the lot and the guys around, I think Derry probably the fight I'd want to have most to guarantee a title shot. I think Poirier would feel confident he could win that fight. Not that he doesn't feel confident about everybody else, but you think, you know, Oliveira's already beaten him. Fiziev, you're not going to get the same kind of benefit from fighting. He's low down in the rankings. That's not going to be as helpful.
No, if I'm Poirier, I either want Charles Oliveira because I want it back, or I want someone that I already beat before. Benny D is just a very tough guy that I'm only really going to fight because it means title shot.
Has he fought him before? No, he never has.
No, but for a long time, um, when Dariush was more active, DP was down at 45, and then when DP was up, they were kind of going the other direction for a little bit, and then just between when they were both injured and when DP was in the title picture, it just never happened.
Fair enough. I think you got to match them up in that case. I think that would be. Yeah. I think that makes the most amount of sense.
Yeah,
Without a shadow of a doubt.
or one of them fights someone else. But my point is, you can't. It's getting to the point we talked about it before. Like if Benny D can rest and sit out, fucking fair enough, do it. But otherwise you got to do what you got to do. Could be a fun fight.
And the truth.
Definitely headlines pay per view.
Well, this was. Yeah, well, listen, both the. I love Dustin Poirier. Michael Chandler is prime time if there ever is prime time. They're going to be just fine, and they're going to be in big fights, no matter what. And definitely best fight on the card, no question about it. This was a barn burner. So we talked about the best moment of the card. Let's talk about the worst moment of the card. Fucking wish we weren't a spot on right about this one. What were we saying on the pick show? The only thing I can hope is that Frankie Edgar, at the very least, isn't knocked out so badly that, the post-fight speech feels a bit weird. And okay, he could give a post-fight speech, but...
Well, actually, I went with Frankie on this one. I went with the nostalgia. I thought he might be able to take Gutierrez down and keep him down. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it when I'm right. You can't criticize Gutierrez there. The knee was perfect.
Yeah, no, it was a great knee. Frankie's had a great career. Now's probably not the time to talk about it. We'll have lots of moments to talk about him in a fun way. Pop in organically here and there. Haven't really prepped a retirement episode. It doesn't feel like the right fight to go out on it. But, it's obviously the right thing for him to do. We've talked a lot about the main card as is anyway. How would you feel about just kind of going through a little sharper from here on out? Or do you want to talk about Frankie a little bit?
No, I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to say that it's unfortunately the way a lot of guys, very few people go out on a win at the high level. The nature of the sport. And there's a lot of people that go on a lot of bad losing streaks trying to chase one more win before they call it a day. It's just, it is what it is, man. Frankie Edgar used to be famous for just being impossible to finish, and he's been finished 4 times in a row. If that isn't a sign that you need to quit, I don't know what else is.
Anyone that is famous for being impossible to finish will eventually become very easy to finish. It's just the way it happens.
Yep.
Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz just beat that belt. That's all I know.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens in 2 or 3 years with those guys. Bit sharper though. Let's not talking about sad things. Dan Hooker surprised everyone. By everyone, I mean us. But we were surprised because we thought Claudio Puelles had this. And
we
for a
Puelles can get his ass kicked on the feet. We just thought he'd be able to lock up a leg. It just he obviously got hurt to the body. Was having a hard time really kind of just staying in the fight. Got very one-dimensional very quickly. And just took him apart. Just pieced him apart very quickly and easily in a second there. I'd say I feel bad for Claudio. That was about as merciful as Dan could do it to him.
Yeah. And listen, if you can't, the moment he couldn't take him down and make the most of those situations, grabbing his leg and his knee, it was only going to go in one direction. He burns himself out. It reminded me in many ways of a worse version of um, Volkan versus Paul Craig. Obviously, Paul Craig made the final bell, but just that situation where you realize once it hasn't happened, it just looks less and less likely that it's going to happen with the method and that style of trying to apply jiu-jitsu that he uses.
Yeah, just getting your ass kicked, really.
Obviously, it's pretty much. I went 4-1 on the main card, but I had a big stretch where things were not looking so good for me, and this is that stretch. I got the Dan Hooker fight wrong. You also got that fight wrong. We both got Brad Riddell versus Moicano wrong, and we got this fight seriously wrong. I mean, Moicano really, put a bit of a schooling on Brad,
Well,
you have to say.
the way they were talking about him, the commentary team, I think he came out of nowhere. Obviously, he was a big name at 45, but he has been billed as a top guy at 55, just hasn't really gone his way. Had a great fight there against Brad. Brad is, I don't want to say hit and miss or one dimensional, but he's not the guy that everyone's like super scared of in this weight class. He's one of those. It's interesting to see what he's going to do against that next challenge. Renato Moicano was a challenge that you thought he was probably going to get past. Moicano came out looking about as good as he ever has, which is the same as he did, sort of 4 or 5 years ago. Does that mean that he's going to continue to put it together? Does that mean that, we're just going to see him get rocked here or there or get a little over aggressive? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, we were wrong about the pick on this one. We're wrong about a lot of the picks.
Fucking yeah, we really were. Not a great showing from us. Although I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I won again this week, or nudged further ahead this week.
Yes, you did. I haven't made a slide for it though. Have you made the slide?
No, I haven't. Dude, I'm on holiday. I barely got Wi-Fi. I don't know how we're having this conversation.
It's coming in later then.
Well, Moicano, we were wrong about you, but you also gave a fucking brilliant post-fight interview. This is how you make the most of your Mike moment. I mean, some of the quotes of what he was saying made absolutely no fucking sense, but they were brilliant, and they were said with a huge amount of passion.
Yeah, it was the Andrei Petrosky level of English that you want from a post-fight speech. And frankly, again, just the perfect timing, because the commentary team are talking about him like he's brand fucking new. Wins a big fight against Brad Quake Riddell like that. A lot of hype suddenly. I think a lot of new fans, a lot of new eyes on him. Still young enough to do something at 155. Be interested to see what the next move is, because again, long road to the top, fraught with danger in that weight class. If there's a way to kind of like skip the queue or take a bit of an easier one, there's that card in Brazil coming up. Who have we got booked at 155 that might drop out?
That's an interesting thought.
I've got nothing in front of me.
That's interesting.
But anyway, my point is, yeah, it could be a good year 2023 for Renato Moicano. Let's see how it breaks. More likely, I think that it's going to be same old business as usual. Next fight won't be too bad, but just won't quite be as good as this one, and then there'll be a couple of losses here and there, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it is, as the great Max Holloway would say. Josh, how the fuck did Ryan Spann beat Dominic Reyes?
Oh, apparently he never trains, no trains. Look, we know the Reyes can get caught because, every now and again they get rocked with like a really impressive shot. And we know Span can like kind of catch people, but at the same time Span can get caught. But we just sort of ultimately kind of edged it and kind of went, well, Reyes just technically a lot better, got kind of high level experience. In our view, beat John Jones. Uh, Frankly, been knocked out by a better style of shot, stronger level of competition. Ryan Span, just a bit of a glass cannon, maybe. Like, do we respect him? Do we fuck? And again, let's not discredit Ryan Span at all. Great job. Commentary team overhyped him. I thought he's come out of fucking nowhere. I don't know why. Maybe they've cut too many people. They've realised they have to start being nice to people. Who fucking knows? It's nice when they give people a little bit of a push though. So let's see them start to be nice to be nice and to be more active fighters, because it's not normally what happens. Weirdly, but yeah, fuck it. Right, Ryan Span.
We've been
Made me look shit on my picks again. Fuck you, Ryan Span. Congrats on the fight though, buddy. Good for you, pal. Super happy for you.
What's gone wrong for Dominic Reyes, man? 0-4 since his title shot. I mean, including his title shot. But to go from thinking he's beat John to losing that fight, to losing the next title fight, to losing to Yuri, taking all this time
Fight
off,
at
now you lose to
205.
Ryan Span.
Fight some big boys. You get hit with some clean shots. This one wasn't a lot to say. Shouldn't have been that over aggressive. Just didn't have enough respect for Span. Ain't Matt.
Well, ain't that the truth? Women's flyweight, talking about people that had no respect. Erin Blanchfield had no respect for Molly McCann on the ground. This was rough to watch. And Molly did everything she could to not tap, but just, she was never in this fight, man. And we kind of knew this was going to happen. Well,
I still picked her anyway. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, you kind of gifted at me this week. With the Frankie pick and the Molly pick and...
I don't know, I just had this feeling.
Shit happens. Andre Petrosky beats Wellington Turman by decision. He keeps marching on. Looking very impressive.
Yeah, Turman looked slightly better than I thought he would, but there's surely he's getting cut.
Yeah, I feel like he should. Do you remember how we were talking about how the odds looked really weird, and why was Matt Frivola the favourite when Azaitar's an absolute beast? They knew something, dude. They fucking knew something. I have seen Azaitar fight. That was not fucking Ottoman Azaitar. I've seen Matt Frivola fight. That was fucking Matt Frivola. Who were these people? Who are these clones that they replaced with the people that I'm usually expected to watch?
Like, sometimes shit just breaks funny. Is what it is.
I can't believe Frivola won that, man.
And usually the odds reflect as much a way to try and draw some more action than anything else. Alright. What was next?
Carolina.
Oh, nice little return to form. What she changed the walkout tune to? It wasn't Iggy. It was something else. AC/DC, wasn't it? TNT.
I didn't hear the walkout music for this one, pal.
I think it was TNT. Anyway,
you have to bear in mind again. I was watching really shit Wi-Fi, so it was. I didn't catch any of the walkouts. I literally just saw. This was when my link was really bad, so I missed the first two fights, and for Trezano and Carolina, it kept freezing on me.
Well, Kovacevic didn't look too bad at all. There were moments where Gomez Juarez made her look like she was kind of, just sort of a past fixture in this weight class. Ultimately, though, KK, it did take him a while to figure out the score here. Eventually, they did score it her way. I'm not sure what the hold up was on that, but it took forever and a day for him to read out the score. I don't think anyone had scored it the
Yeah,
other
that was quite
way.
weird.
I think they had just fucked up who had scored what and how and why. Not that I give two shits.
Well, Carolina wins. Her resurgence continues. Mike Trezano gets the win, and this is gutting because I picked Trezano initially, and then I changed my mind when that file corrupted and we recorded again. And I should have stuck with Mike. Would have pushed me further ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, my picks haven't been going well. I thought the way Sting was coming out, to be honest, he might be able to get the better of Trezano. They both kind of floored each other immediately. Trezano was just waiting to just queue up the counter to that big hook. And Sting just made it a little too easy for him. But I did think that when he was a little bit more direct with the shots and going straight 1-2, giving Trezano some problems. Trezano didn't look too bad. Very emphatic in his victory and his post-fight speech. He would not be denied. Good for him. Always been a bit of a fan.
Oh,
What's his
yeah,
nickname
good
now?
seeing
I
getting
swear,
a win.
he used to be the Diamond, but they were Mike something else.
The Lone Wolf.
Oh, go on, why not?
The Lone Wolf.
Anyone else?
Josh,
I'd say it's stupid, but
I didn't see the Montel Jackson fight and Allberg fight, so I'm just gonna let you spend a minute or so,
oh,
or 30
go on.
seconds, just discussing
Jackson
this.
just absolutely jabbed up. I'll say very nicely. Montel just completely took over about halfway through the second round. Very nice. And despite our faith in Negu, Carlos Ulfag absolutely starched him. Knocked him out in the first round. Very nice performance from Ulberg. You know, don't forget when he did get knocked out in his debut against Kennedy in Ketchiku, he was absolutely obliterating him before getting countered with those elbows. Carlos Ulberg, no joke, young in his career, potentially something there, who knows, as already previously stated, light heavyweight, very scary division, 205, those boys land hard. Anything to add, Matt?
Not majorly, apart from the fact that I was a little worried you were going to win the pick show when I woke up and saw that result had gone in your favour. In total, what were the scores? I got 1, 2. It's not a great week for me. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 8. I got 8 out of 15.
I believe we had
Out of
three different, so I believe you pulled 3 ahead. So I believe you are 5 ahead.
Oh, you backed Nega Mariano as well?
Yup.
Yeah, I'm 5 ahead now. I'm feeling good, although I've got 8. I'm kind of worried that I'm going to pull ahead now that we've stopped doing it as a weekly score and doing it as more of an accumulated score. And this is going to end up biting me in the arse where you, like, on the last card of the season, get some, like, 12 fight different pick than me and just win all of, absolutely shank me at the end. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Or I just catch up this week.
Or catch up this week. I'm not going to be able to record the pick show tonight because it's getting fucking late here. But can I just send my to you maybe? Is that right? And you just do like a short. Is that okay?
That awesome. Works.
One thing we definitely need to talk about though, because this is some we got some happy news and we got some sad news related to UFC things that aren't UFC related. Cain Velasquez has been bailed. He's out. He actually gets to see his family. He is with his family now. He is not having to face the jury process and the trial process from jail, which I think is fantastic news for everybody that knows the story. Obviously, we've discussed, at different points and at length, our feelings on the actual situation itself. But considering the guy's probably going to end up spending a few years in a sentence, I'm glad at the very least that he gets to go through this process outside of jail, a free man for the moment, and seeing his family.
Yeah,
What's
I
your
think
thoughts on this one, Josh?
we all feel like as much as you might want to talk about there being a right and a wrong way to pursue justice after someone does that to your own flesh and blood. Um, just very, very, very sad, very, very supportive for him and his family, and hope everything for him and his loved ones is as well as it can be.
From what I've heard, he's clearly got a good lawyer, because for him to get bail with the circumstances of his case, they said is extremely unlikely. But I think whatever you think about what his sentencing should be, you can't be a human and not know the story and think at the very least this guy should be able to be with his family as he's going through this. At the very least, and I'm glad that they've granted him that. So that's our
Yeah,
kind of happy
absolutely.
news, although it's still a bit bittersweet. The real sad news, which hit us all yesterday, is that former UFC title challenger, former Bellator fighter, former LFA fighter, an absolute legend of the sport, Anthony Rumble Johnson, passed away at the age of 38 from, I'm not hearing too many details, I'm hearing an immune disease. Is this what you're hearing?
Um, I mean, really, just that no one really knows at this stage, but I really don't know much about it. I've heard organ failure, but I really don't at this point know
Yeah, I'm
anything
reading it
at
now.
all.
Organ failure due to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and hemophagocytic, some long ass scientific, the rare disorder of the immune system.
Anyway, not
It's tragic
always
news. I thought,
giving the best account of himself online with regards to the way he would treat women and whatnot, but still, uh, a huge member of the MMA community, put in some legendary performances. One of the biggest, heaviest hitting guys to ever get down to 170 you will ever see. I think he once fought Dan Hardy, even maybe. But
did fight Dan Hardy.
yeah, absolute MMA legend. It's really tragic that he's passed away.
One of the scariest knockout punches in the history of the light heavyweight division, which is saying something for a guy that started at welterweight.
Yeah, which is fights against Glover Teixeira and Sugar, Rashad Evans. Those
The
ones
Glover
went heavy.
Teixeira one is terrifying. It's one of the scariest uppercuts I've ever seen. I mean, just you want to talk about true explosive one-punch knockout power. Anthony Rumble Johnson had it. Even in his loss, the first loss to Cormier, he sent Cormier flying across the octagon with that right hand. Just a different level of power puncher, and a massive shame we never got to see him versus Jones.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
It's the nature of life. It's the nature of the sport. That's obviously some very sad news. Is there any other news that we haven't discussed so far, other than obviously, you know, Dominic Reyes has said he'll be back. Frankie Edgar has, confirmed he is definitely retired. Is
And
there
not
any other
so
big
much. I
things?
mean, I guess I was probably gonna talk about Bellator and the Big Show, but it's no Big Show this week.
Um,
We'll record them but we won't record the episode.
Yeah, sorry, it's just
That's
getting
alright. No,
it's
no,
I'm
no, no.
like
It's
7
fine.
hours ahead. But
So yeah, there's also Bellator on this weekend. Finally getting Vadim Nemkov against Corey Anderson. Don't forget Corey Anderson, very much looking like he was gonna dethrone the seemingly unstoppable Nemkov in their original fight, and Patricky Pitbull taking on Usman Nurmagomedov for gold at 155 as well. So a little bit to be excited about with Bellator this weekend and whatnot as well. Plus, I think it's on Friday night. Well, it's on Saturday morning for us, but you know what I mean. It's on consecutive days. There's also one on, so let's take a look.
too bad. And yeah, looking at this, see, Lewis versus Spivak is going to be on at a reasonable time for me. Very reasonable time. That's going to be in the morning time. I could probably watch both of those cards in the morning, to be honest.
How nice for you. Actually, I don't think they're on that late for me. I think they're on like, yeah, like I think the main card starts at like 10 o'clock for me. So I reckon I'll be alright.
Then it will be. Then it will be too fucked for me. That will be like 5 in the morning. But say la vie, I can see the highlights the next day. Right, guys, I'm in Thailand for another couple of weeks, so hopefully the Wi-Fi is okay when we end up recording and editing this, and this episode is manageable. But I will kind of bear that quality in mind when it comes to how we plan the rest of recording while I'm here. Next week, I should be fine to do the podcast on a Monday. After that, I might need to wait until back on Wednesday to do any discussions or any podcasts, because it might be a little tricky. I think I'm flying Tuesday night, and I'm going to be spending a lot of the Monday after next Monday traveling. But I'll work that all out with you, Josh, as we go along.
No worries, we'll figure out.
Listen, man, I hope all is good with you back in Spain. We will speak next week when we do the podcast. Everyone, thanks for listening.
Enjoy
like
Thailand.
The video, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you very much. I will send pictures, and I should be going either tomorrow or Thursday to a Muay Thai night. So I'm going to try and take some videos and maybe do a special sort of video blog edition, upload to the podcast when I'm back, of my Muay Thai adventures here in Thailand, in Phuket. And on that note, guys, I will bid you adieu. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye, Dave. Bye, Laurie. Bye, Trifa.
Bye, Laurie.
Catch you next week.
Bye, Dave.